feels cold just right here. Oh. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right, well,
Welcome to the kids' pool.
first, I'm Buddy and this is Stephanie from the Denman Homestead. It is record-breaking heat in Texas right now where we're at. It's never been this hot in June, and it is dangerous hot. But we are trying to cool off a little bit. The kids are kind of crazy inside the house, so we're inside the kiddie pool. And Steph mentioned that after the Kansas story time, there were lots of questions. So we figured, since we're out here hanging out, might as well answer some questions.
I wrote down some of the questions. First of all, I'd like to address some things. I wrote something to address.
Sounds very formal.
Yeah, well, not all of the comments were supportive. I don't know if maybe just some people didn't watch the whole video, or when we said we don't want to offend Kansas people from Kansas, they still took offense. But what we want to say is that we do support the police. We in general know that, you know, a few bad apples can ruin the bunch, right? But like, we know that police are essential, okay? And we know, and we appreciate how they put their life on the line daily. I have police in my family. We have very close friends that are police officers, and in no way, shape, or form are we hating on police, so as a whole. So I just want to say that. We don't hate Kansas. I may have said that, I don't know, but I don't hate Kansas, and I don't especially hate people who live in Kansas. That's not at all what I was trying to say. I can't help the fact that when I drive through Kansas, I have anxiety because of the experiences I had there. It could have been in California. This situation could have happened in Wyoming. It could have happened in any state. So it's not a Kansas thing, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that this was our experience in Kansas, and that's why we have, I don't know, a hard time driving through Kansas. And so it's not necessarily a Kansas thing, it's just what happened to us in Kansas. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all this was addressed in the video. I mean,
I don't know. We do put blame on the Liberty County Police Office that did not take our car off of the National Registry of Stolen Vehicles.
yeah, I mean, that was the reason why Steph was on the news. If you pulled up that article, Steph was on the news because it was kind of a last resort. She called and called and called and was turned down. She just wanted to know what the procedures were for vehicles being removed after they had been recovered and things like that, and what happened with ours. And it was, everyone just kind of washed their hands of it. They were like, oh, sorry, you guys got wrongfully arrested, and that was probably horrible for you and your kids. But yeah, they didn't say it. I'm just saying that was kind of the mentality, was it was like an oh well.
Well, to rewind, you know, Liberty County pointed the finger at Harris County because Harris County was the police jurisdiction that came to the scene. They were the ones to essentially recover my vehicle. So Liberty County was trying to say, well, this is a Harris County problem because they recovered it. But after I did hours and hours and hours and days and weeks of research, it turned out that it was the institution who put the stolen vehicle in was the one to remove it. And they knew that same day, because we had kept them in the loop and they actually showed up to the crime scene. Even though it was out of jurisdiction, they showed up. We had a Liberty County officer there, and they knew that we got our car back. So it was definitely a ball dropped in Liberty County's court. I'm not saying, it was Kansas City's fault. Or not Kansas City, the state of Kansas's fault.
Yeah, we said that in the video.
Yeah.
We don't blame the Kansas state troopers. Like,
Do I
they were
think
doing their
Kansas
job.
state troopers overreacted?
You never know. I mean, what
I
if
don't know.
someone would have got out and started shooting? It'd be good to have all that stuff.
I guess, but I just wish that there would have been maybe they would have asked for our identification a little bit sooner than I had to beg for. I don't know.
No, I don't even think that. Like,
Okay.
and we said it in the video that they were doing their job, and who wants to be the police officer that walks up to a window of someone that you're pretty sure has a gun inside the window and says, "Hey, can I have your driver's license?" No one wants to do that. I think what they did was the correct thing. It just it happened to us, and it was scary and it's traumatizing. It's traumatizing for the kids.
Yeah.
And I said a couple times in the video, like, I didn't want to get shot in that, and that's literally what was going through my mind. Was that
Come this way, we'll get your heads cut off.
was that if I don't comply, even though there's not thousands, but there's probably 6-7 different voices yelling commands at any given time, and I'm trying to listen to what I'm supposed to be doing. At the same time, I'm worried about Steph because she was super upset. The kids are screaming. Like, there's just a bunch going on. Not to mention that the situation you're in is pretty crazy. So when I said I didn't want to get shot, that's literally what was going through my mind. Like, I didn't want to mess up to the point where, someone accidentally or thought they needed to pull a trigger or something like that. Like, that was what was going through my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the two things that we've talked about so far, like, do we blame police? No. What was the other one? Do we hate Kansas? No. We have
Man.
two different traumatic events in Kansas, and I hope that in the original video you can tell that
Yeah.
we just had two traumatic events. So when we do go through Kansas right now, it's all like when we have to drive through Kansas, it's like, please just don't let anything bad happen to us.
Right.
That
And it could be any state. And we do want to give Kansas another shot. We do want to make we are going to make good memories in Kansas. I know that. I
have a couple. We actually have good memories in Kansas.
Yes.
It's just like when we went out to the Castle Rocks. I hope that's what they're called. I've called them that so many times. I really gotta look that back up.
It's like
make sure.
chalk towers or something.
When we went out there, that was awesome. That was super fun.
Yeah.
It just happened to be that day was capped off with a tornado, and that kind of, even the park we were in was beautiful. It was fun. Technical difficulties. The wind. At least we have wind. I mean, it could be worse. Could just be stale air on top of the 100.
I just have all of my
degrees.
questions to answer here. Okay, so let's go out. Let's start with questions.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Here's one of the number one questions. We should sue. We should sue. I'll address this because I was hotter than the sun when this happened. So I was calling everyone, every agency, every department I could think of. I called some attorneys because I agree that something was done wrong, and I was not looking for compensation. I was looking for accountability. Says your device is too hot.
Sure it is.
Okay. I was looking for accountability, and I did not want this to happen to another family. Here's the response I got from a few different attorneys. Number one, it's almost impossible to get any judge or jury to find fault with a police department. And I was told this straight to my face, that unless one of us were murdered or killed, we wouldn't win. We just wouldn't. No attorney wants to have a reputation of suing the police. So it would be, number one, hard to find an attorney that would take the case. Number two, once we got to court, it would be very hard to have a judge or jury find fault with the police department because they already have a tough enough job as it is. Number three, you cannot claim damages on emotional trauma. You can't. There's no monetary. There's no. You just can't do it. PTSD, trauma, emotional damage. I think that that's a pretty common misconception that you can sue for those things, but you really can't.
But at the same time, what we wanted, all we wanted, was to be told what was being done so that it worked. It didn't happen to someone else. That it didn't. What was being done to make sure that things like our vehicle didn't fall through the cracks. And that is literally all we wanted. I don't think...
I didn't want anyone fired. I just asked for retraining, like different protocol, something. Like, just tell me what you were doing internally to fix it. And an hour's worth of retraining that the staff would have been great. Something. But really, we just were given the cold shoulder and a bunch of fingers pointing at other districts and jurisdictions, and that was not the answer.
Yeah, and it could have been way worse. It could have been a different family. It could have, all these different could have been. Someone could have accidentally got shot, a kid could have accidentally jumped out and ran into the highway. Like, all these things could have happened, and that was kind of what was going through our mind, was like, we went through this, we made it out okay. Can we just have someone tell us what they're going to do better next time so that it doesn't happen to someone else, or tragically, or worse, than what happened to us?
Okay. Next question. We were following in a caravan behind Daniel and Lou, G, Kim, and Levi. They were in the car ahead of us.
Yeah, they saw the cops and they just took off.
Yeah, they said,
didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
They were, worried. I think my mom and Daniel probably have warrants out for their arrest.
Yeah.
So no, I'm just kidding.
No, they didn't. So what happens when I don't know if you've followed family or in a caravan, sometimes you need to pull up for gas. Sometimes your kids have to pee, whatever. So we would just say, this is our next destination. We're going to meet here for lunch. So if traffic happened or whatever, we would just eventually catch back up at a checkpoint. That's kind of how we caravanned. So we weren't tailing right behind one another. Had they seen us be pulled over, they would have stopped. But they were ahead of us in a way to where they didn't know what was going on. Eventually they did call, because I had made a call to Kim while Buddy was being escorted out of the car, and then I had to hang up with her, and she kept calling and kept calling and kept calling. So she knew something was going on. I don't think she thought any of that was going on, but she was trying to get in touch with me, but she did not realize, or they would have come back for us.
Yeah.
And another question was, what was their reaction once we told them what happened? And I think that everyone was pretty much in shock. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is the reaction of anyone when you tell that story, was like, wow.
No way. But
Crazy.
what could they do? This next one, I received a lot of criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
She received criticism from me after this happened.
Did. You can't imagine the guilt.
Listen.
Why?
It's easy in hindsight to be like, why? Why did you leave your car unlocked? Why did you leave your purse in the car with your gun? It's easy to look back and say, you know, like, that was stupid. Why did you do that?
I'm sure some of you right now have your something in your car. Maybe it's unlocked, and maybe you have CDs or something in there that is easily accessible, and you don't even think about it. And here's my point to that. This is my property, and I know the age we live in or whatever, but I should be able to leave my Amazon packages on my front porch, or leave my car unlocked. I should.
You should be able to do a lot of things, but the fact
reality
is you can't,
you
and
can't.
sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and sometimes you have to learn the really, really hard way. And you know, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was just a lesson learned. That was one of the first things that I thought to whenever everything had happened. I'm like, why would you leave your purse in your car with your gun in it? Like, you know, it's just looking back. It's I don't know, just something you gotta live and learn.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You live and learn. You make stupid mistakes, and you try not to make them again.
Yeah, and I haven't. Since that day, I brought my stuff in and never did it again. But I don't think me leaving my purse in my car warranted the snowball of traumatic effects that happened the way that they did.
Yeah,
I
well, you
just
never
don't.
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
What's next?
The kids need therapy.
Well,
Let's talk about the kids in therapy.
you know, it's funny. I told they were
I'm gonna drink some of your beer.
having
It's chunky.
breakfast the day that the Kansas story came out on YouTube, and I said, "Kids, guess what video is on YouTube?" And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Our story of what happened in Kansas." And they were like, "What happened in Kansas?" And I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, what happened?" And I was like, "With the police?" And they were like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah, that one time that we were trying to go to Colorado.
But we did, you know, we were really blessed at our kids' school to have a really great counselor.
Yeah.
And she took them under her wing and just worked with them so much, and really, I think, like, made a huge difference.
Well, one thing that she did that I thought was a good idea was she asked the campus police to visit the kids during lunchtime and sit down with them at lunch and just basically reintegrate their relationship with the police through the school district. And that really, I felt you could have almost an overnight downhill, like their anxiety and everything kind of calmed when we got back on the road. When we passed a police car, it wasn't instant fear, instant panic. I think those situations really helped them to heal.
Yeah. One of Kaden's favorite people in junior high was the police officer on campus. Like, it's a big. I mean, one, we had help at the school level, but then two, our school district also has like pretty amazing police officers, like school district police officers. So, and they make a big point to have relationships with the kids. You know, like just like high-fiving and, you know, just goofing off and dancing at football fields, like, or football games. The kids love our police officers at the school district, and that's also helped. So if we still believed that there were problems, you know, we would continue looking for support that way. But
Connor had a really interesting attachment to that teddy bear. So we told you that the Kansas State Police gave the 3 kids one teddy bear to share, and Connor clung to that teddy bear.
He slept with it
for like over a year or 2.
I think in his mind, that teddy bear was the end of a traumatic moment. It was the in his mind, it was the feeling of, okay, everything's safe now at the end of something that was very traumatic. So he latched onto it.
Yeah, he did.
And it was like a little police officer teddy bear in a little police officer uniform. He like slept with it every night for a little bit, and
Yeah.
you know, it. We as parents can we can tell pretty easily when something is still bothering them or when it's not, and I don't know. I feel like they're in a pretty good place now when it comes to
Yeah.
police officers. But we
Okay.
definitely did just so you know, we
We did get them therapy.
got them therapy and made sure everything was good with that.
Where were the kids when all this was happening?
In the car.
Were they left unattended?
Yes.
So for a good
Connor and were they all three in car seats at that time, or just
No.
Connor and Laura?
just Connor and Laura.
So Connor and Laura were strapped down in the car seats, but Kaden, I guess, was the person.
Connor was in a
attending.
booster. He could have easily unbuckled, but
Yeah.
I-
Kaden was attending to him. That's the long story short.
yeah, Kaden was the adult. And you could tell in that video, we didn't talk about it, but Kaden was their rock at that moment. Kaden did such a good job at keeping them calm. I posted that news article, that news report, and you can hear Kaden saying, "No, Mommy and Daddy are not going to get shot. They might be getting a ticket, but they're not going to jail." He didn't know, but he really, in a 9-year-old voice and situation, and in his maturity level, did the best that he could to keep the kids calm. Once I was detained, I asked a police officer, well, I didn't ask, I pretty much demanded that someone go get my kids, someone be with my kids, because I didn't want them to come out of the car and run for me. So eventually a police officer did make his way to the car. I was still nervous about him approaching the car and how the kids would handle it. But when I got back to the car where the police officer was talking to the kids, he seemed to be reassuring them and talking in a calming voice, and I appreciated that. But it was that few minutes that they were unattended in the car screaming that was hard for me, because I didn't know what was going to happen with them. So that's to address that they were left unattended for a little bit. What was the charges? What happened with the criminals? So the DA's office pressed charges against the 2 people who stole my vehicle, and they only charged them with credit card fraud. It's my understanding that it was difficult for them to pin down exactly who stole the vehicle, and because there was no visible evidence or physical evidence or whatever that they were the ones to actually steal it, they weren't going to pursue charges, which is stupid to me, but whatever, it is what it is.
I mean, yeah, they when they got arrested, they told the cops where
the
they
car was.
where they dumped the car.
So they only charged one of them. It was the woman. They only charged her with credit card fraud because they only had her signing the receipts and her on security surveillance making those charges. They were going to let that guy go. The guy that they found in the truck that was laid back, they were going to let him go at the scene, and I threw a fit. But they took him in on the stolen travel trailer that they recovered while they had pulled. It's kind of a long story, but they had recovered a different stolen travel trailer, and they put that on him, and so they were able to take them both in that day, because I did not want them out at that moment. I wanted, to feel safe for the night and have them behind bars. She ended up getting 6 months in jail. I don't know if she served the entire duration of that. Probably not, but that's what they gave her, was 6 months. And their reasoning of why they didn't have my firearm is because they both had very long rap sheets, very, very, very long rap sheets, and they were both felons, and they did not want to be in possession of a firearm, because they knew that if they were to be caught with a firearm, that was
especially in
bad
Texas.
news. Yeah.
Especially in Texas, you have a firearm with anything that you do. Immediate felony.
Yeah. So that was their charges, and we didn't talk about this, but I think that we should follow up with the Great Wolf Lodge.
What?
How we tried to
Oh, on the way home?
Yeah.
This is not even a thing that happened in Kansas.
I
This
know.
happened in Colorado.
Yeah.
But,
Getting hot. You tell the story.
okay. Everyone else left to head back home, but we were going to stay an extra day. And there's a place, it's kind of like a hotel / amusement park. It's called Great Wolf Lodge, or hotel / water park.
Yeah, it's an indoor water park.
An indoor water park, yeah. So it was cold, but you could swim, and we thought it was really cool. And we just wanted to do something really nice for the kids, just like a surprise, like I knew.
Sorry.
As soon as she's grabbed that ice, I knew what she was about to do. We just wanted, they had fun playing in the snow and the train ride and everything, but we wanted to do like one thing, just our section of the family.
Yeah. So at the end of the trip, everyone went back their own way, and we didn't caravan back together. We told the family, like, we're gonna do a little bit of something, just a day.
Was it just one night?
It was one night. We're gonna stay
Yeah.
an extra night in Colorado with the kids at the Great Wolf Lodge indoor water park, and just basically spoil them.
Yeah, just let them have
Yeah.
fun, and let them, just try and put all the other stuff behind them.
Yeah.
So they have, it's a blast. Me and Kaden are doing all these water slides, and the kids Connor and Allure are swimming in the little pools, and it's such a cool place. There's also this whole like magic section where you go around and the kids get this little wand, and they get to play these games with the wand, and they had such a blast. Rock walls for climbing,
Yeah.
awesome place. So we lay down at night.
Was that the time of blizzard?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a blizzard coming through, but we were. That's what was crazy too. There was a blizzard blowing in while we were swimming and doing water slides stuff, because it's all indoors. So it was really cool. But
I have to tell the story real quick.
okay.
I went outside to clean off our car because the whole parking lot was completely covered in snow. So I went out to scrape our car off, and I spent a good, 20 minutes or so cleaning off our car. Come to find out, I cleaned off the wrong car. I was freezing. I was like, no.
Not our car. Someone else was probably
Someone else
really
was super
grateful.
happy.
Yeah. So we lay down at night, and it was a good day. We're just like, man, this was a good idea. This was like really cool and fun, and just something to get your mind off the other stuff. And we lay down and we go to sleep, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, all the alarms in the hotel go off.
Attention. An emergency has been reported. Walk to the nearest stairway. Do not use the elevator. Walk to the nearest stairway. Do not use the elevator.
It's okay,
Walk
Ruby.
to the nearest stairway.
They are loud.
Loud, and it's like, please make your way to the lobby. Please make your way to the lobby. We don't know what's going on, so we get the kids up, and we're like in night clothes.
And
so we go down into the lobby, and all the doors are open, because that's part of their fire procedures. Their code is that all the not revolving, but the sliding doors have to remain open. And we're just sitting there freezing, all in the middle of this lot. Every guest in the middle of this lobby, and they come around with carts, and they got blankets on the carts, and they're handing everyone blankets, and we're
like
there.
Pitch black outside, a blizzard's blowing through.
Yeah, it was cold, but the blankets helped, and the kids were just like, "What's going on?" You could tell people are half awake, trying to figure out what's going on as well. We were half awake trying to figure out what's going on, but about 30 or 40 minutes later, everything just turns off, the doors close, and they say, okay, you can head back to your room. It's a false alarm. I think someone had pulled a fire alarm or something, but so the end of the trip was a little crazy. It was really fun. It just had that crazy moment in the middle of it while we were sleeping, but Great Wolf Lodge, other than that moment, was super cool, really fun. But yeah, so any more questions, babe, that you can think of from the video? Just trying to answer as many. We were responding to comments, but sometimes when you get a whole bunch of comments of the same question, it's just easier to make a follow-up video and add them all in there and make sure that we answer everyone's questions through that.
Yeah, I just think the main one was, I think you should sue. And I don't disagree with you. I just think that it's, and not that it's not worth it, it's just, I don't think it's going to, at this point in time, be beneficial. I've recovered, the kids have recovered. I know my hope in my heart is that Liberty County knew what they did, and I would hope that they would make the changes.
Yeah, even if they didn't want to talk to us about it, they just make the changes anyway, because maybe Steph going on the news, maybe they got a little heat from it and people asking questions, and they just they didn't want to follow up with us, but they decided maybe they were going to try and fix it. That's what we hope.
Since then, the sheriff's position is an elected position. So we've had an overturn of personnel now in that department. I've not really had to, I try to steer clear of having to mess with them at all. So I don't really know how they operate these days. So suing them now, I mean, they may have a wonderful staff going on. So, I thought about it, but I'm not going to. I just think that it's a losing battle. So, unfortunately, just sharing our story, I think, will be enough. And I hope that again, we don't want to be offensive to law enforcement personnel or Kansas, the state of Kansas, or any of that. We're just sharing our experience and our story and how it impacted us and how it impacted our children.
Yep.
And we love you, Kansas. People of Kansas.
We'll be back.
We'll be back to Kansas. So in Kansas, if you've got like a chunk of time where there's tornadoes more prevalent,
yeah,
let us know so we can come on a different time.
And to be fair, it's not just Kansas weather that can be anxiety inducing, because we went through something called Harvey here, and hurricane season, especially for Steph, is anxiety inducing.
Huge trigger. I go on a crazy prep mode.
Yeah.
And I think every state has like crazy things. So like we drove through Utah and I was driving the RV and I got caught in a sandstorm, which you have zero warning of. None. Zero. One day you're driving.
Sandstorms are scary.
Oh my God.
They're so scary. You lose all visibility.
You don't know.
You don't know if the person in front of you is slamming on their brakes.
See, I can't.
If they're going to continue driving, if they've pulled off to the side. So if you pull off to the side, off to the shoulder, you can't even see the shoulder, but if you pull off to the shoulder, are you going to hit someone who also pulled off to the shoulder?
Yeah.
Like, and it happens so fast, and it's actually over pretty quickly too, but it feels like an eternity when you're inside of it, and it was super scary because we just slowed down. Yeah. We didn't know what to do. We just slowed down and went through it.
But I didn't want to stop, because if I stopped, the person behind me would just slam right into me.
Right. There's so many variables. Like, what is everyone doing in this exact moment on the road with you? Because if you make the wrong decision or they make the wrong decision, then there's a wreck.
Yeah.
And that sandstorm in Utah was crazy.
Rough. And I was driving and we couldn't switch. It's not like we could just swap in the middle of it. I just had to keep driving. Buddy was trying to talk to me and, put your hazards on and all this other stuff. And it was very intense.
Yeah.
We've been through some interesting weather things.
Yeah.
tornadoes, hurricanes, sandstorms, blizzards. Oh, Buddy had to drive through a blizzard.
Are you kidding me? Why the quotes? You couldn't see the road.
It wasn't a blizzard.
You could not see the road.
It was more like a snowstorm. And at night.
It was at night. It was a snowstorm
And it was New Mexico.
in New Mexico.
Dang it, New Mexico.
And you could not see the road. Okay, we're getting off on this video. We gotta. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And I really hope that we were able to answer some of your questions. It is not as dangerous as it sounds when we get on the road.
Everyone's gonna be like, just don't leave.
Yeah, just don't leave.
Just stop leaving. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, so thanks. And if you have any more questions, hopefully we've addressed the bulk of them, but
Yeah.
we'll try and answer them in the comments.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, I just looked up the top 10 things in Kansas.
You talking to me?
No.
Oh.
The next thing, okay? The next thing we're going to go see in Kansas. Because out of all the top 10 things to see in Kansas, the one that we went to, which was Monument Rocks and Castle Rock, which was really cool. All the other stuff was just kind of like various zoos, various museums, but there was one thing that I think would be amazing, and that is Dodge City. Because I love me some Wyatt Earp, some Doc Holliday, and yeah, so Dodge City, it's going to be where we go in Kansas that changes everything.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Okay,
Can't
so
wait.
there you go. Dodge City, number 3. I don't want to say 3 strikes are out.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm.
Come on.
Third time's a charm.
Three strikes are out. Oh, no.
All right. I'll be your Huckleberry.
Aw.
Can't wait. That's going to be awesome. All right.
Okay.
Bye.